My dear friends and fellow toilers in the great vineyard of life, I greet you not merely as a man who has managed to gather some portion of the world's material rewards, but as one who has walked the stony path of the weaver's son and found, through trial and observation, the true laws of the empire of business. If you find yourself standing at the threshold of your career, or perhaps mired in the confusion of a busy life, yearning to achieve more in the brief span of years allotted to us, then I pray you listen closely. I shall not offer you the fleeting tricks of the gambler or the hollow promises of the idle. Instead, I offer you the gathered wisdom of decades, principles that do not rely on the flickering candle of willpower, but on the solid masonry of character and system. You see, the most successful men, the captains of industry and the masters of their own souls, do not wake each day to engage in a grueling battle with their own minds. No. They have disciplined their habits and organized their affairs so thoroughly that failure becomes a mathematical impossibility. It is through these very methods that I was able to build great works of steel and stone that serve the world even now. I have found that there are 5 sacred pillars upon which the temple of productivity is built. Let us begin with the first. The law of immediate action. In my youth, I observed that the man who hesitates when a simple task is before him is like the captain who allows a small leak to go unpatched while he studies the charts. If a duty presents itself that requires but 1 minute of your time, be it a brief correspondence, the settling of a small account, or the giving of a necessary instruction, do it at once. Do not record it in a ledger to be fretted over later. Do not ponder its complexities. Simply act. Most men waste more energy in the agony of indecision and the clutter of their to-do lists than the work itself would ever demand. The longer a task sits unaddressed, the heavier its shadow grows in your mind. I say to you, act now. Dispatch the message, confirm the appointment, fulfill the small obligation. These tiny sparks of action create a great fire of momentum. As it has been wisely said, the greatest distress does not come from the labor we perform, but from the duties we neglect. Many a man creates more misery for himself by avoiding a decision than could ever result from the decision itself. But what of the great labors? What of the tasks that demand the full measure of a man's concentration and the quiet of his soul? To master these, you must first fix your focus. It is a great folly to believe one can be productive without a clear destination. Clarity is the mother of speed. If I know exactly toward which port I am steering my ship, I can spread every sail to the wind. Most men wake up with a vague desire to do well, yet they have no clear idea of what they intend to produce. They are like an archer shooting into the mist, hoping to strike a target they cannot see clearly. Once a target is visible, you must follow one course until successful. In the world of business, we often look for that one North Star metric, the single figure that tells us whether our enterprise is truly serving its purpose and growing in strength. In my own works, we found that by focusing the entire spirit of the company on one clear aim, the rest of the machinery fell into perfect alignment. Real productivity is not the art of managing your minutes, it is the high art of commanding your focus. To fix your focus, I suggest 2 practical steps. First, you must define your power goals. At the turning of each year, I make it my duty to find a quiet place, perhaps under the shade of a great oak, or walk in a clear field, to commune with my own heart. I ask, what is the great work I wish to accomplish this year? I write them down freely, for the business, for the family, and for the soul. From this list, I select the one dominant desire that, if achieved, would make all other tasks simpler or even unnecessary. I remember once I set a goal to place the tools of knowledge into the hands of every aspiring youth in a town. That goal became my guiding light. But the writing of the goal is only the beginning. You must review this list at least 3 times every day. Most men write a plan and bury it in a drawer where it gathers dust and is forgotten. I keep my goals ever before my eyes, when I break my fast, when I sit at my desk, and before I take my rest. This constant reminder allows me to ask, does my calendar reflect my character? Am I spending my hours on the things I claim to value? If you align your daily actions with your eternal aims, you will become an irresistible force. Choose your 3 daily victories. Ask yourself, what 3 stones must I lay today to ensure the wall of my life grows taller? If I accomplish only those 3 things, I count the day a triumph. Start with these, finish them while your mind is fresh. The rest of the world's noise, the trivial requests, the idle chatter, the minor interruptions will fill the remaining gaps soon enough. These 3 victories are your big rocks. Tend to them first, and the sand of daily life will settle around them. For those of you who are leaders, managing many hands and great responsibilities, this focus is not a luxury, it is a sacred duty. You must protect your time for deep work and ensure your family and your health are not sacrificed at the altar of industry. Now, once you know what truly matters, you must have the courage to discard everything that does not. You must cut the crap, as the modern tongue might put it, though I prefer to say simplify and subtract. Most men fail not because they lack opportunity, but because they have taken on too much. They suffer from mental indigestion. They say yes to every passing whim and find themselves overwhelmed, anxious, and ineffective. Success is not a game of addition, it is a game of subtraction. It is the removal of the dross so that the pure gold of your purpose can shine through. You must master the art of the firm no. A no is a complete sentence. It requires no apology and no long-winded explanation. If a request does not resonate with your soul's purpose, it is a no. My own rule is simple. If it is not a resounding yes from the heart, it must be a no. Do not leave others in the agonizing limbo of maybe. A maybe is a loop that stays open in your mind, draining your energy. Close the loop. Make the decision. If you would not leap from your bed with joy to perform the task, then do not commit your future self to it. Put your own mission first. I invite you to try 3 ways to simplify your life immediately. First, let no be your default response to the world's demands. Treat your hours like a bank account. Every time someone asks for a moment of your time, they are asking for a withdrawal of your life's currency. Protect it. If an invitation aligns with your goals and pushes you toward growth, then give it your yes. If it merely fills a gap in someone else's life at the expense of your own, decline with grace. Second, audit your time as strictly as you would audit your company's ledgers. Every Sabbath, look back at the week that has passed. What bore fruit? What was merely thorns and thistles? Where you found success, double your efforts. Where you found waste, cut it out without mercy. On a monthly basis, create a kill list. Eliminate every recurring task or obligation that does not support your ultimate dream. And lastly, learn to live in a state of holy silence. In your modern world, you are besieged by bells and whistles from your pocket watches and glass screens. I implore you, turn them off. Do not allow these distractions to steal your focus. Decide when you will plug in to the world's noise, perhaps at the middle of the day or the end of the afternoon, but do not let the world interrupt your creative labor. By silencing the trivial, you make room for the eternal. When you have cleared the noise, you must then protect your most precious resource. It is not time, my friends, for time is the same for the beggar and the king. It is your energy. I do not care how many systems you employ. If your body is broken and your spirit is weary, you cannot produce great work. Every man has peak hours, times when his mind is sharpest and his energy highest. Protect these hours as if they were sacred ground. Line up your most difficult, most creative, and most challenging labors with these peaks. For me, the morning has always been the time of deep work. I do not allow any man to disturb me then. There is a spiritual truth here. When you create with high energy, that energy remains in the work, to be felt by all who encounter it. I have often felt that in the quiet of the early morning, when the rest of the world is still horizontal and dreaming, the veil between the creator and the created is thinnest. In those hours, I can tap into a source of wisdom that provides elegant solutions to the most vexing problems. To maximize this energy, you must conduct an energy audit. Observe the natural ebb and flow of your spirit. I do not take meetings before the sun has reached its zenith, for those early hours belong to my own growth and my own work. Once I have invested in myself, I can give a better version of myself to the world. Furthermore, you must remember the old Stoic wisdom: exhaust the body to tame the mind. To maintain focus, you must move. I have found that rigorous physical labor or exercise clears the brain like a tonic. It is not a drain on your energy, it is a generator of it. I often place my most difficult mental tasks immediately following a period of physical exertion, for that is when my mind is most primed and disciplined. Whether it is a long walk in a weighted vest or a session of vigorous movement, do not neglect the temple of your spirit. Yet all this energy and focus will be for naught if you do not have simple systems. Systems beat motivation every day of the week. I am not always motivated, but I am always disciplined to follow the system. As it has been said, we do not rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. Make it hard for yourself to fail. When I set out to write my thoughts for the world, I found that my own willpower was not enough. I had to create a system of accountability. I engaged a trusted associate to hold me to my word. I made my goals part of other people's responsibilities, knowing that I would do more for others than I might do for myself alone. This is a cheat code for productivity. Make commitments to people you respect. Systems, an acronym for saving yourself time, energy, money, and stress, are the bedrock of the empire of business. I suggest you begin by batching your work. Do not sprinkle your tasks throughout the week like seeds in the wind. If you must settle accounts, settle them all at once. If you must meet with your overseers, meet with them in succession. The human brain cannot multitask. It merely suffers from cognitive switching, which wastes precious time and energy. Focus on one type of labor, finish it, and then move to the next. Follow the rule of DRY. Don't repeat yourself. If you make a decision once, record it as a preference.
If you perform a task, create a checklist so that next time it can be done with less thought or even handed to another. I have some documents that explains exactly how I work so that every new associate knows my expectations without me having to utter a single word twice. Imagine the time you would save if you never had to repeat a simple instruction. Use the 10-80-10 rule of delegation. Be involved in the first 10%, the ideation, where you set the vision and direction. Let your capable team handle the middle 80%, the execution. Then return for the final 10%, the integration and the finishing touches. This allows you to influence many great works without being drowned in the details of any single one. Finally, standardize your meetings. Every gathering of men must have a purpose. Never enter a room without an agenda. Ensure there is a direct, responsible individual who owns the outcome. Define the decisions to be made, the next steps to be taken, and the deadlines for each. If a meeting lacks things like these, it is not work, it is merely noise. My friends, these systems may seem like constraints, but in truth, they are the keys to your freedom. Only through structure can true creativity flourish. Only through discipline can you buy back your time and live the life you were meant to lead.
Let us delve deeper into the second pillar of our lesson, the mastery of one's own focus. I have often said that the man who can focus his powers upon one object at a time and finish that object before taking up a new task is the man who will eventually control the markets of the world. It is a common malady among the youth of today, and indeed it was so in my time as well, to believe that by scattering one's energies across so many different interests, one might find 100 different rewards. But the empire of business is not won by the scatterbrain. It is won by the man who understands that clarity is the parent of acceleration. Consider the steam engine, which revolutionized our industry. If the steam is allowed to escape in a dozen different directions, it is but a hissing cloud, providing no more power than a summer breeze. But when that same steam is harnessed, constricted, and directed through a single cylinder against a single piston, it can move 1,000 tons of steel across a continent. Your mind is that engine. If your thoughts are allowed to drift toward every passing distraction, the idle gossip of the street, the flickering news of the hour, the got-a-second interruptions of those who have no goals of their own, then your life will be a hissing cloud of wasted potential. But if you fix your focus, you become a force of nature. I have found that the best of the best follow one course until successful. In my studies with the young Napoleon Hill, whom I tasked with distilling the laws of success, we found that definiteness of purpose is the very first step toward any great achievement. You cannot hit a target that you have not defined. How can you expect the law of attraction or the great machinery of the universe to work in your favor if you cannot even tell the universe what you desire? In the world of industry, we look for what I call the North Star metric. When I was building my interests in the steel trade, I did not fret over 1,000 minor details of the counting house every morning. Instead, I looked for the one figure that represented the true health of the enterprise, the cost per ton of finished rail. If that number was moving in the right direction, I knew the heart of the business was beating strong. I would gather my partners, men of high character and specialized skill, and we would fix our collective gaze upon that one number. Every development, every marketing effort, every innovation in the furnace was measured against that North Star. It was this singularity of purpose that allowed us to surpass all competitors. Real productivity is not the frantic management of time. It is the calm, steady management of focus.
To fix your focus in this modern age, you must first define your 12 power goals. At the beginning of each year, I make it my solemn ritual to find a place of absolute quiet. I seek the company of the hills or the silence of a library, and I sit with my heart. I do not merely think, I listen. I ask myself what I wish to contribute to the world and what I wish to build for my family and my soul in the coming 12 months. I allow a flood of consciousness to pour onto the page. Then I perform a cold, hard analysis of this list. I look for the one dominant desire, the goal that, if achieved, would render the others more attainable or perhaps even unnecessary. This is my North Star. I then backfill the remaining 11 goals so they align with this central sun. The tragedy of most men is not that they fail to plan, but that they fail to remember. They write a business plan or a life's manifesto with great fanfare, and within a fortnight it is buried beneath a pile of ledgers never to be seen again. To avoid this fate, you must establish a habit of reviewing your goals 3 times a day. I have set up triggers in my own life to ensure this. When I first seat myself at my desk, when I break for my midday meal, and before I extinguish the lamp at night, I pull forth my list. It is pinned to the very front of my mind. This constant review serves as a moral compass for my calendar. It allows me to look at the day's appointments and ask, is this meeting a stepping stone toward my North Star, or is it a detour? If your calendar does not reflect your goals, you are not a master of your life. You are a servant to the whims of others. By keeping the main thing, you transform yourself into a formidable weapon of industry. From these grand goals, we must then derive our 3 daily victories. A goal is a distant mountain peak, but the path is made of individual steps. Each morning, before the world can intrude with its demands, you must identify the 3 tactical projects that will move your vision forward. If you finish these 3 things, the day is a triumph, regardless of what other emergencies may arise. I make it my mission to create a winning streak. By finishing these big tasks first, I find that the rest of the day, the correspondence, the minor consultations, the social obligations, feels like gravy. These are the big rocks of your life. If you fill your jar with sand first, you will never find room for the rocks. But if you place the rocks first, the sand will find its way into the crevices, and your jar will be truly full. For the man of great affairs, the entrepreneur juggling 100 employees and the heavy mantle of responsibility, this focus is not a luxury, it is a necessity of survival. To protect this focus, I have designed what I call the perfect week template. This is a rigorous system used to safeguard my deep work. It ensures that my team knows the rhythms of the house, that my health is maintained through regular exercise and rest, and that my relationships with my loved ones are not starved of attention. If you do not design your week, the world will design it for you, and the world's design for you is rarely profitable. Once you have identified what truly matters, the next inevitable step is the most difficult for the soft-hearted. You must cut away everything that does not. You must cut the dross. You do not need more activities to win. You need fewer, more potent ones. Most men in this world fail from indigestion, not from starvation. They say yes to too many opportunities, too many invitations, and too many ideas. They become like a ship encrusted with so many barnacles that it can no longer move through the water. They feel busy, but they are not productive. This leads to a state of constant anxiety and a fractured spirit. Instead of believing that success is a matter of addition, you must realize it is a matter of subtraction. It is the art of removing the trivial so that the vital remains. The most powerful word in the language of success is no. It is a complete sentence. It requires no elaborate justification. If an invitation does not resonate with your heart and your North Star, it is a no. My own rule is unyielding. If it is not a resounding yes, it is a firm no. If someone asks for your presence 6 months from today, and you know that if the event were tonight you would decline it, then you must decline it now. Do not leave open loops in your mind by giving a half-hearted maybe. A maybe is a leak in your mental reservoir. It creates stress and clutters your thoughts. Be decisive. Close the loop. If you would not jump out of bed with enthusiasm to perform the task, then do not give away your future time. Put your own mission first, for if you do not value your time, no one else will. There are 3 ways to purge the trivial from your life immediately. First, adopt the habit of no by default. Your time is your life's blood. Treat your calendar like a bank account of the highest importance. Every time someone asks for a second, they are asking for a withdrawal of your capital. If you would not hand a stranger $20 for no reason, why would you hand them 20 minutes? Protect your hours so that you may choose how to invest them. If a request aligns with your goals and challenges you to grow, it may earn a yes, but be wary of the middle ground, those tasks that are easy and pleasant but ultimately go nowhere. Second, you must perform a weekly audit of the soul. Every Sunday, I sit in reflection and look back at the week that has passed. I ask, what worked? What bore fruit? What was a waste of my Creator's time? Where I see success, I run the play again. Where I see waste, I cancel, I cut, and I clear. On a monthly basis, I create a kill list. I look for recurring obligations or habits that no longer serve my grand design, and I eliminate them with mercy. If you do not create the space for greatness, it will never find a home in your life. You must delete, delegate, automate, or simply do the work, but you must never allow the kill list items to linger.
Third, and perhaps most importantly for your modern age, you must learn the value of holy silence. You live in a world that constantly screams for your attention through notifications and alerts. I implore you, turn them off. Do not allow a machine in your pocket to dictate when your focus shall be broken. I choose when I shall plug in to the world. I have specific times, perhaps during my morning walk or at the close of the business day, to attend to messages and correspondence. I do not let the apps distract me. As someone who has always possessed a restless and energetic mind, I had to build these walls of silence to remain productive. I dare you, turn off the notifications. Decide for yourself when you will engage with the world's noise. You will find that when you cut the crap of constant interruption, you will finally have the clarity to see what truly matters. When the noise is cleared, you are left with your most important resource. It is not time, for time is a fixed measure given to all men equally. No, your most valuable resource is your energy. I do not care how many checklists you possess. If your brain is fried and your body is weary, your work will be hollow. You must protect your energy peaks as if they were sacred ground. Every man has a natural rhythm, a time when his spirit is most buoyant and his mind most piercing. For me, that time has always been the early morning. I guard these hours fiercely. I do not allow meetings or trivial consultations to occupy this space. This is the time for deep work, for this is when I can give the world my best. I have always believed that the energy you put into a task is felt by the person who eventually receives the results of that task. If I write a letter with a tired and distracted mind, the reader will feel that fatigue.
But if I work with a heart full of vigor and a mind as sharp as a razor, that energy will vibrate through the page. My energy flows where my attention goes. In the quiet of the morning, when the rest of the world is horizontal and dreaming, I find a thinness in the veil between myself and my Creator. It is in this holy silence that I find the most elegant solutions to my largest problems. Science may not yet explain it, but the soul knows it to be true. To master your energy, you must conduct an energy audit. Observe your week. When do you feel most alive? When do you feel most drained? I have found that most men have a natural flow. Perhaps they are sharp in the morning and more social in the afternoon. I honor this flow. I do not take meetings before 11 o'clock, for those hours are an investment in myself. Once I have secured my own progress, I can give the world a better, more present version of Andrew Carnegie. When I show up for others, I am not thinking of the work I neglected, for that work is already done. Finally, remember the rule, exhaust the body to tame the mind. Many men seek to medicate their lack of focus when all they truly need is to move. We must treat the body rigorously so that it will not be disobedient to the mind. Each morning, I push my body to the point of healthy exhaustion. There is a chiropractic alignment of the mind that happens in the heat of physical labor. It clears the brain of its fog. Many people fear they will be too tired after exercise, but the opposite is true. I have never left a brisk walk or a session of physical toil feeling less energetic than when I began. My mind is primed for its most difficult tasks immediately after I have challenged my body. Whether it is a long walk in the fresh air or the simple discipline of movement, do not neglect the physical vessel of your spirit. Once your body and mind are aligned, you must anchor them with simple systems. Systems beat motivation every day of the week. People ask how I remain motivated to build libraries and manage empires. The truth is, I am not always motivated, but I am always systemic. I have checklists and rhythms that make it easier to win than to fail. As the world grows and your responsibilities increase, you will find that these systems and the people who help you maintain them are the only things that will keep you accountable. Everybody has goals, but it is the systems that create the winners. I make it hard on myself to fail by building commitment devices with others. When I find a task I dislike but know to be necessary, I hire a CEO for that project, someone who is an expert and to whom I am accountable. I will do far more for a trusted partner than I will ever do for myself alone. This is the great secret of the successful. They do not rely on their own flickering willpower. They build a machinery of accountability that pulls them forward. Systems stand for saving yourself time, energy, money, and stress. Start today by batching your work. There is no logic in sprinkling similar tasks across a week. If you have accounts to settle, settle them all in one sitting. If you have creative work, stay in that creative well until it is dry. The human brain cannot multitask. It merely wastes time in the cognitive switching between different modes of thought. By batching your work, you become lethally productive. And never forget the principle of DRY. Don't repeat yourself. If you make a decision about a preference, save it. If you explain a process, write it down as a checklist. I keep a document called Working with Andrew, which I give to every new associate. It outlines my expectations, my rhythms, and my values. I do not have to repeat myself, and they do not have to guess. This is the essence of proper delegation. Imagine the years you would save if you only had to say a thing once. My friends, these are the first lessons in the empire of business. They are not mere suggestions, they are the laws of the mind and the soul. Master your focus, simplify your life, protect your energy, and build your systems. Only then will you be ready to handle the great wealth and responsibility that surely follow a life of disciplined industry.
My fellow seekers of the empire of business, we have discussed the necessity of action, the alignment of focus, and the pruning of the trivial. But now we must address the most profound truth of all, one that the modern world, in its frantic pace, often forgets. I speak of the sanctified power of the mastermind and the necessity of human cooperation. In my years as a manufacturer of steel, I was often asked the secret of my success. Was it my knowledge of the furnace? Was it my skill at the counting house? I told them then, as I tell you now, I knew little of the actual manufacture of steel in its technical sense. My success lay in my ability to surround myself with men who knew more than I did, and to harmonize their efforts toward a single glorious end. This is the third pillar of our temple, the law of cooperative industry. No man can achieve great wealth or lasting influence by his own hand alone. The self-made man is a myth of the ego. We are all made by the hands of those who support us, teach us, and labor alongside us. If you wish to multiply your results, you must learn to multiply your spirit through others. In the modern age, you call this leverage or networking, but I call it the gospel of cooperation. It is the realization that a group of minds working in perfect harmony toward a definite objective creates a third, invisible power, a mastermind that is far greater than the sum of its parts. This is why I insist upon the 10-80-10 rule of delegation, which I touched upon earlier. Many a young man fails to grow because he is a victim of his own vanity. He believes that no one can write a ledger, stoke a fire, or close a sale as well as he can. He clings to every detail, fearing that his fingerprint will be lost. To him, I say, you are not a leader, you are a clerk with a heavy burden. True leadership is the art of inspiring others to take ownership of your vision until it becomes their own. I once knew a man of great literary talent who, long after his passing, continued to produce works that reached the top of the world's bestseller lists. How could a dead man remain so productive? It was because he had established a system where other creative minds were trained in his methods, his tone, and his values. He provided the first 10%, the spark and the structure, and allowed his mastermind group to carry the 80% of the labor. Finally, his standards governed the last 10%. This is how empires are built to outlast their founders. Whether you are a mother managing a household, a merchant tending a shop, or a captain of industry, you must learn to let go of the how so that you may better command the why. Furthermore, if you truly wish to buy back your time and expand your reach, you must embrace the principle of standardized rhythms. A business without a rhythm is merely a collection of accidents. I have always maintained that a meeting without a preordained agenda is a theft of my life's blood. Every gathering of men should have a clear owner, a direct responsible individual who is charged with the outcome. If you do not know who is responsible for a task, then no one is responsible. I apply this even to the sanctity of the home. Every week, my family gathers for a family council. We do not leave our domestic happiness to chance. We review our affairs, our successes, and our struggles with the same discipline I apply to the boardroom. Why? Because the most productive life is one where every part is in harmony. If your home is a place of chaos, your business will eventually reflect that disorder. By standardizing these meetings, we ensure that the main thing remains the main thing, and that no member of the family feels neglected by the demands of the world. Now, I know what the artists and the free spirits among you will say. You will say, "Mr. Carnegie, this sounds like a prison of rules. Where is the room for the soul? Where is the freedom to create?" To you, I answer with a truth I learned in the weaver's cottage. Discipline is the only road to true liberty. A river without banks is but a swamp. It has no force, no direction, and it creates only Maya. But a river with strong, disciplined banks becomes a mighty torrent that can power a nation. The constraints I offer you, the systems, the no's, the audits, are the banks of your river. They allow you to be truly present in your creative hours because you are not fretting over the thousands of details you have delegated to your systems. Freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the result of it. When you have a system for your correspondence, a system for your physical health, and a mastermind to handle the execution of your projects, you are finally free to think. And thinking, my friends, is the highest paid labor in the world. As I taught Napoleon Hill, the man who masters the master key to riches is the man who takes full possession of his own mind. You must stop working and start building. A man who spends his day digging a ditch with a shovel is a laborer. A man who spends his day designing a steam scowl to dig 1,000 ditches is a builder. Which do you choose to be? The laborer is always tired, always behind, and always at the mercy of the clock. The builder is a master of time, for his systems and his people work while he sleeps. If you find yourself overwhelmed today, it is not because you lack talent, it is because you lack a system. You are trying to carry the weight of the world on your own shoulders, forgetting that the Creator gave us the power of cooperation for a reason. Start today. Identify one task you can batch. Write one checklist so you never have to repeat an instruction. Say no to one invitation that does not serve your North Star. By these small atomic changes, you will begin to rebuild the architecture of your life. You will find that you have more energy, more clarity, and more joy. You will no longer be a slave to the urgency of the world, but a commander of your own destiny. The road to success is long, and it requires a character of tempered steel. But if you follow these laws, the law of action, the law of focus, and the law of system, you will find that the gates of the empire of business will open to you of their own accord. I shall wait for you to digest these lessons before we move to the next stage of our journey, the mastery of wealth itself and the moral responsibility that comes with it. We have laid the foundation of our temple with action, focus, and cooperation. But a temple is not merely a structure of stone. It must be a place of living energy. We must now speak of a truth that many in their quest for gold often overlook: the preservation of the vital forces. I have titled this lesson, "The Conservation of the Vital Spark," for I have learned that even the most perfect machinery of business will grind to a halt if the fuel of human energy is exhausted. It is a common delusion among the ambitious that time is their most precious asset. They hoard their minutes like misers, yet they squander their vitality as if it were an infinite sea. I tell you, time is but a fixed measure, the same for the idle dreamer as it is for the captain of industry. The true differentiator between the man who builds an empire and the man who merely survives a career is the quality of the energy he brings to those hours. You may sit at your desk for 12 hours a day, but if your brain is clouded by fatigue and your spirit is weary, you are but a ghost haunting your own office. In the empire of business, we must treat our personal energy with the same reverence a master engineer treats the steam pressure in his boilers. If the pressure drops, the great wheels cease to turn, no matter how much time passes. Therefore, you must protect your peak hours as if they were sacred ground.
Every man is born with a natural rhythm, a time when his soul is most buoyant and his intellect most piercing. For me, this has always been the early morning. It is then that I perform my deep work. I allow no interruptions, no trivial consultations, and no minor cares to cross the threshold of my study during these hours. I have observed a curious phenomenon in my long life. The energy with which a task is performed remains embedded in the result. If a bridge is designed by a man whose mind is fractured by exhaustion, that bridge will lack the elegance and strength of a work born of a vibrant spirit. If a letter is written with a heavy heart, the reader will feel its weight. My energy flows where my attention goes, and I refuse to let that flow be diverted into the marshes of triviality. To master your energy, you must conduct a rigorous audit of the spirit. Look back upon your days and identify the tasks that give you life and those that drain it from you. I have found that most successful men honor their natural flows. I myself do not take meetings with the outside world before the hour of 11, for those early hours are an investment in my own mental capital. Once I have secured my own progress, I can give a better, more present version of Andrew Carnegie to my partners and associates. When I finally show up for others, I am not haunted by the ghosts of neglected duties, for my primary work is already finished. There is a profound peace that comes from knowing you have honored your own potential before tending to the demands of the world. Think of the day before you depart for a long-awaited journey. On that day, you are a marvel of productivity. You dispatch your duties with a speed and clarity that seems almost miraculous. Why? Because your energy is aligned with a definite purpose. I tell you, every day can be lived with that same vigor if you honor your energy peaks and maintain the rhythm of your soul. Furthermore, we must address the physical vessel. I have always believed in the maxim, exhaust the body to tame the mind. Many men in this age seek to quiet their restless thoughts with draughts and potions, when all they truly require is the discipline of movement. We must treat the body with a certain rigor so that it remains a faithful servant to the mind. Each morning, I challenge my physical self. There is a chiropractic alignment of the intellect that occurs when the blood is stirred and the lungs are filled with fresh air. It clears the mental fog and prepares the brain for the most difficult labors. Do not fear that exercise will leave you too tired for your work. Quite the opposite. I have never left a brisk walk or a period of physical toil feeling less energetic than when I began. My mind is at its most creative and my judgment at its most balanced immediately following such exertion. Whether it is a long walk through the woods or the simple discipline of manual labor, do not neglect the temple of your spirit. A strong mind cannot long reside in a neglected body. Once you have secured your energy and your focus, you must anchor them with simple, unyielding systems. Systems, my friends, beat motivation every day of the week. Many ask me how I stayed motivated during the lean years or the times of great trial. The truth is, I did not rely on motivation. Motivation is as fickle as the weather. It comes and goes without warning. I relied on systems. I made it easier for myself to win than to fail. Everybody has goals. The failure and the success alike want to reach the mountain peak, but it is the system of the climb that determines who reaches the summit. I have always made it a point to build commitment devices. If I find a task necessary but distasteful, I hire an expert to oversee it, a man of high character to whom I am accountable. I will do far more for a partner I respect than I will ever do for myself alone. This is the great cheat code of the industrialist. We do not rely on our own flickering willpower. We build a machinery of accountability that pulls us forward even when our spirits are low. Remember that systems exist to save you time, energy, money, and stress. Start by batching your labors. It is an act of folly to switch your mind from a creative task to an analytical one every 10 minutes. The human brain requires time to reach the deep well of focus. When you switch tasks, you leave a portion of your attention behind. This is cognitive switching, and it is the enemy of excellence. If you have correspondence to attend to it all at once. If you have creative plans to draw, stay in that state of mind until the work is done. By batching your work, you become lethally productive. And never forget the principle of don't repeat yourself. If you make a decision, record it as a law for your household or your office. If you explain a process, write it down as a permanent instruction. I maintain a document for all who labor with me, outlining my values and my methods. It saves me from the drudgery of repetition and allows my associates to act with confidence. Imagine the years of life you would reclaim if you only had to give an instruction once. My friends, these are the laws of the empire of business. They are the tools by which we transform our limited human strength into an infinite force for progress. Master your energy, protect your peaks, and anchor your life in systems. Only then will you be worthy of the great success that awaits the disciplined soul.
My fellow seekers of the empire of business, we have examined the mechanics of our labor, the systems, the focus, and the conservation of our energy. But now we must address the most profound secret of the human mind, a truth that I have shared with few, but which resides at the very core of all great achievement. I speak of the relationship between the conscious will and that vast, silent reservoir of power, the subconscious mind. You see, many men believe that success is merely a matter of the intellect, of clever calculations and the grinding of the gears of the conscious brain. But I tell you, the conscious mind is but the tip of the iceberg visible above the waves. Beneath it lies a power so great that once harnessed, it can move mountains of steel and redirect the currents of commerce. To be truly productive, you must not merely work harder, you must rewire the very fabric of your inner thought. In my early days as a messenger boy, I did not know the scientific names for these forces, but I felt them. I realized that if I could impress a definite desire upon my inner spirit, my feet would find the way to fulfill it without the agony of constant willpower. This is what the modern world often misses. The most successful men do not rely on the flickering candle of discipline to light their way. They have built a sun within themselves that makes failure an impossibility. If you wish to reach the heights of industry, you must learn to communicate with this inner power. The subconscious mind is like a rich soil. It does not care what seeds you plant within it. If you plant the seeds of doubt, of too much to do, and of fear of failure, it will faithfully produce a harvest of anxiety and paralysis. But if you plant a dominant desire, a clear, unwavering image of your success, it will work night and day to bring that image into material reality. This is why I insist upon the review of your goals 3 times a day. It is not merely a reminder for your conscious brain, it is a method of spiritual photography. You are taking a picture of your ideal life and developing it in the darkroom of your subconscious. When you sit in the silence of the morning, or when you are at the gym exhausting the body to tame the mind, you are opening the doors to this inner workshop. I have often found that when I am faced with a problem of great complexity in the steel trade, perhaps a matter of a new merger or a difficult labor relation, I do not try to force a solution with my tired evening brain. Instead, I present the problem clearly to my inner mind before I take my rest. I say to myself, I require the most elegant and just solution to this matter. And more often than not, when I wake in the holy silence of the dawn, the answer is there, waiting for me like a gift from the Creator.
This is the true master key to productivity. When your subconscious is aligned with your North Star, you no longer have to try to be productive. You simply are. Your habits become your allies rather than your enemies. You find yourself saying no to the trivial and yes to the vital with an ease that surprises the onlooker. You are no longer rowing against the current of your own nature. You have hoisted a sail and are being carried by the trade winds of the universe. However, you must be a vigilant gatekeeper of this inner realm. The modern world, with its constant notifications and its indigestion of information, is forever trying to plant weeds in your garden. This is why I demand that you live in DND mode, not merely on your devices, but in your soul. Protect the sanctity of your thought. Do not allow the fears and the idle chatter of the marketplace to take root within you. If you allow the world to distract you, you are handing the steering wheel of your life to a stranger. Remember, my friends, that wealth and success are not accidents of fate. They are the outer manifestations of an inner state of being. If you wish to change your results, you must first change the vibration of your thought. Align your conscious goals with your subconscious power through repetition, silence, and faith. When these two forces work in harmony, you will find that you are no longer a laborer in the vineyard, but a master of the harvest.
I speak to you now of the gospel of wealth, a philosophy that I have lived by and which I believe is the only path to a life truly well spent. In the modern age, men often speak of financial independence as if it were an end in itself. They wish to reach a point where they no longer have to labor, where they can retire to a life of ease and idle pleasure. But I tell you, a man who has no purpose beyond his own comfort is a man who has already begun to perish. The true meaning of success is not found in the accumulation of millions, but in the service those millions can render to humanity. We are but trustees of the wealth that passes through our hands. It is our duty to administer it during our lives for the benefit of the community from which it was drawn. This is the great responsibility that comes with the master key. I have often said that the man who dies rich dies disgraced. By this, I mean that the man who hoards his wealth until his final breath, only to leave it to heirs who have not earned it, or to purposes he can no longer oversee, has failed in his primary duty as a citizen. Wealth is a tool, like the steel we forge in the mills. It must be used to build, to educate, and to lift the aspiring spirit of the race. This is why I have spent the latter half of my life establishing libraries, universities, and foundations. I do not give charity in the sense of handing out alms that only encourage the idle. No, I place the ladders within reach upon which the aspiring may climb. I give the tools of knowledge to those who have the character and the industry to use them. For the best way to help a man is to help him help himself. In your own quest for productivity and success, you must ask yourself, to what end am I laboring? If your goal is merely to buy more things or to achieve a status of idle luxury, you will find that the rewards are hollow. But if your goal is to build something that serves others, to create a business that provides honest labor and valuable products, or to gather wealth so that you may improve the world, then you will find a source of energy that never runs dry. Cooperation and trust are the twin engines of this progress. In my relations with labor, I always maintained that the interests of the employer and the employee are one and the same. We are partners in a great enterprise. When we work together in a spirit of mutual respect and fair dealing, we multiply our results 1,000-fold. The man who seeks to get without giving is violating a fundamental law of the universe.
As you build your systems and fix your focus, remember to keep your character as tempered as the finest steel. Be a man of your word, be just in your dealings, and above all, be a servant to a purpose larger than yourself. For in the end, the only thing we truly take with us is the character we have built and the good we have done in the world. Now I must speak to you of a virtue that is often the most difficult for the energetic and ambitious soul to cultivate, yet it is the very soil in which great fortunes grow. I speak of the patience of the builder and the law of slow, steady mastery. In this modern age, I see a great many young men who are in a frantic hurry. They wish to leap from the weaver's cottage to the mansion in a single bound. They seek the quick turn, the sudden windfall, or the lucky strike. But I tell you, a fortune gathered quickly is often as fleeting as the morning mist. True financial independence, the kind that stands like a mountain of steel, is earned slowly through service, patience, and the mastery of one's craft. When I first began my service as a telegraph messenger, I did not fret that I was not yet a captain of industry. Instead, I resolved to be the best messenger boy in the city of Pittsburgh. I learned every street, every business house, and every face of the men who received my messages. I made myself indispensable in that small sphere. This is the first law of the builder. You must master the duty that lies nearest to you before the universe will entrust you with a larger one. Patience is not idle waiting. It is sustained industry under the guidance of faith. It is the realization that the great oaks of commerce do not spring up overnight. They require years of deep rooting. Many men fail because they grow weary of the day of small things. They see no immediate harvest, and so they abandon the field just as the seeds are beginning to stir beneath the earth. They lack the stick-it-to-itness that distinguishes the victor from the vanquished. Consider the law of the master key. Riches do not come to those who merely wish for them, but to those who create a value that the world finds necessary. This creation takes time. You must hone your skills until they are as sharp as a razor. You must build your reputation for integrity until it is as solid as a stone foundation. There are no shortcuts in the development of character, and character is the only currency that never devalues. In my own life, every step was a preparation for the next. The lessons I learned in the cotton factory prepared me for the telegraph office. The telegraph office prepared me for the railroad, and the railroad prepared me for the iron and steel works. Had I skipped any of these stages, I would have lacked the specialized knowledge and the tempered judgment required to manage the great enterprises that followed. Do not despise the lowly beginning. It is the apprenticeship of greatness. Furthermore, you must understand that cooperation and trust multiply results over time, but trust itself is a plant of slow growth. You cannot demand the loyalty of men. You must earn it through years of fair dealing and mutual respect. Financial independence is not merely the possession of money, it is the possession of the trust and confidence of your fellow men. That is a wealth that no market crash can take from you. As you follow your North Star, do not be discouraged if the progress seems slow. If you are laying one stone truly and firmly each day, you are building a temple. The man who is faithful in the little things will eventually find himself ruler over much. Be patient with yourself, be patient with your associates, and have an unyielding faith in the laws of industry.
We have navigated the waters of focus, the currents of energy, and the steady tides of patience. Now we must speak of the storms. For no man ever built a lasting monument of industry without facing the howling winds of adversity and the cold rains of temporary defeat. I call this lesson the tempering of the steel. In my mills, we learned early on that raw iron is brittle and weak. It is only through the intense heat of the furnace and the rhythmic pounding of the hammer that it is transformed into steel, a material that can support the weight of a nation's railroads and the height of its great towers. Your character, my friends, follows the same law. You cannot know the true strength of your soul until it has been tested by fire. Many a young man starts his career with high hopes and a brisk pace, but at the first sign of a market panic, a failed venture, or a betrayal by a trusted associate, he folds his tent and retreats. He treats a temporary setback as a permanent failure. To him I say, you have not yet learned the master key to riches. Failure is not a wall, it is a laboratory. It is the universe's way of burning away the dross of your ignorance so that only the tempered steel of your experience remains. I have faced many such fires. I remember times when the credit of our firms was stretched to the breaking point, and the skeptics in the counting houses whispered that Carnegie's bubble was about to burst. Did I listen to the whispers? No. I reached my decisions quickly and stood firmly by them. I knew that the law of success requires one to remain steadfast when the stars themselves seem to have gone out. When you encounter a hurdle in your path, do not seek to avoid it, embrace it. Ask yourself, what lesson does this difficulty hold for me? What weakness in my system has this failure exposed? If you approach adversity with a mastermind and a definite purpose, you will find that every defeat carries within it the seed of an equivalent benefit. The most successful men I have ever known reached their greatest heights just one step beyond the point where they were most tempted to quit. This is why I place such importance on the subconscious mind and the power of faith. If your inner spirit is anchored in the conviction that you will succeed, then no outer storm can truly unseat you. You become like the captain who, though the sea is rough and the mate is fearful, gives the command to sail on. Decision and persistence are the twin guards of your destiny. Furthermore, remember that in times of trial, cooperation is your greatest shield. A bundle of sticks is difficult to break, though a single twig may be snapped with ease. In my hours of greatest challenge, I leaned upon my partners, men like Phipps and Frick, and we harmonized our efforts until the difficulty was overcome. Never try to face the furnace alone. Surround yourself with men of character who share your vision, and together you will find that impossible is a word found only in the dictionary of fools. Financial independence is not won in the fair weather, it is won in the gale. It is earned by the man who stays at the helm when others flee for the shore. Be patient, be firm, and above all, be persistent. The empire of business belongs to the man who refuses to be defeated. We have steeled our character in the furnace of adversity and organized our affairs with the precision of a master engineer. Now we must speak of the harmony of the whole, the integration of success into a life that is not merely profitable, but peaceful and balanced. I have observed many men who in their frantic quest for gold have become slaves to their own counting houses. They have the wealth of Croesus, but the soul of a pauper, for they have forgotten that the object of all industry is the improvement of life. To be truly productive is to be the master of your environment, not its prisoner. You must learn to harmonize the various departments of your existence, your business, your family, your health, and your spirit, so they work together like the synchronized gears of a great clock. In the world of industry, we speak of consolidation and integration. I suggest you apply these same principles to your personal life. Do not keep your family and your business in separate warring camps. Bring the principles of the mastermind into your home. Share your vision with your loved ones so they are not merely spectators to your success, but partners in it. A man whose home is a place of discord will find that his judgment in the marketplace is eventually clouded. Peace at the hearth is the fuel for power in the world. Furthermore, you must avoid the indigestion of information that plagues the modern mind.
Just as a body cannot thrive on a diet of excess, a mind cannot remain sharp if it is constantly gorged on the trivial chatter of the day. Learn to be selective reader and a selective listener. Focus your intake on the great works, the great books of power that feed the soul and stimulate the intellect. A mind nourished on the wisdom of the ages is far more productive than one cluttered with the fleeting gossip of the hour. This harmony is achieved through the standardized rhythms we discussed earlier. By automating the routine, you liberate the spirit. I have always found that by having a fixed time for exercise, a fixed time for family, and a fixed time for quiet reflection, I am able to give my all to each when the time arrives. I am not thinking of the furnace when I am with my children, nor am I thinking of the library when I am at the mill. I am fully present in the moment, and that presence is the ultimate secret of efficiency. Remember that the master key to riches is ultimately the self-discipline necessary to take full and complete possession of your own mental attitude. If you can maintain a positive mental attitude, regardless of the outer circumstances, you have achieved a wealth that no bank can hold. You have reached the happy valley of the spirit, where work is a joy and service is a privilege.
We have reached the final gates of our journey together. We have traversed the rugged terrain of self-discipline, mastered the furnaces of focus, and learned to harmonize our spirits with the great laws of the universe. Now, as I prepare to leave you to your own industry, I must issue a final charge, a call to take full and complete possession of your own mind. I have spent my life building works of steel and stone, but the greatest structure I ever built was the philosophy of success that I have shared with you. I have told you that the self-made man is a myth, for we are all dependent upon the cooperation of our fellows and the grace of our Creator. It is in this spirit of cooperation that I ask you to join our growing circle of industrious souls. If these lessons have stirred the fire of ambition within your breast, if they have provided the clarity you sought to navigate the complexities of life, then I invite you to subscribe to this mastermind group. By doing so, you signal your commitment to the principles of character, service, and the gospel of wealth. Let us continue to build this empire together, one stone of truth at a time. Remember, the master key to riches is not a piece of gold you find in the street. It is the self-discipline necessary to control your own mental attitude. You stand now at the threshold of Happy Valley, that place where labor is no longer a burden, but a high calling. The tools are in your hands. The 2-minute rule for action, the North Star for focus, the systems for freedom, and the faith to endure the storm. Do not be content with mere busyness. Aim for excellence. Do not seek wealth for the sake of vanity, but for the sake of the good you can do with it. Be a producer and not a prisoner of society. The world has enough men who follow the crowd. It cries out for men who have the courage to lead, the patience to build, and the heart to give. As you go forth, keep your character as untarnished as the finest silver. Treat every man with the respect due to a partner. Maintain the holy silence of the morning to consult your inner guide. And when the rewards of your industry begin to flow, as they surely will if you follow these laws, remember your duty as a trustee of the community. The lights of the furnace are dimming, and the day's work draws to a close. But for you, the morning is just beginning. Take this master key, unlock the doors of your potential, and show the world what a man of definite purpose can achieve. Go forth and build your empire. I shall be watching from the hills, cheering for every library you build, every business you master, and every soul you lift. The path is clear. The laws are unyielding. The victory is yours to claim.